Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective, where you get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. Happy Monday. It is Monday, and my hair is just, I don't know. I straightened it this morning, and then I went outside, and it's super foggy, so now it's just kind of doing whatever it wants to do, and all my grays are showing. So anyways, while we wait for people to come on, let's just pull an Aloha card. And, I'm a little late. Production issues. Production crew party of one, me. But we're going to talk about body positivity today. And, yeah, looking forward to that because it's all opinions. But having been on both sides of the spectrum, sometimes it's good to talk about it. So, good morning, Muddy. So, let's see. What Aloha joy do we have today? Let's see. We've done that one before. Here's one just sticking out. Oh, we did that one too. Whoops. Practice patience. Practice patience. There you go. Practice patience. Before I start, a very big, warm, happy shout out to my father. Today's his birthday. He's 80 years old today. 80. I know. Wow. Where's the time go? Where's the time go? Anyways, funny story about that. So I made the deadline when I was born, and the deadline was my father was not going to have any kids after he turned, I think, 28. Was it 28 or 27? Either way, I just made the deadline because when I was born, he was 20, just turned 27 the year before because I'm January and he's November, and then he turned 28 that year. So, so yeah, totally made the deadline. But anyways, thank you, Sammy. I will tell him. So again, practice patience. I feel like I'm a little more combobulated. Yesterday, super migraine all the way down to the getting sick. I know that was gross. But, yeah, I was determined because, I slept a lot yesterday. I don't know why I'm whispering that, but I slept a lot yesterday. I took a 4-hour nap, woke up with a headache, went to bed at 6:30, woke up at 11:30, stayed awake till 2, and then went back to sleep for another 4 hours. So holy crap, that's a lot of sleeping. I think I slept more than half the day. But anyways, apparently much needed. So when you need it, you need it. And my brain ache, my sinus migraine, hallelujah, decided that it was going to be a thing. So, sometimes when you don't listen, your body will tell you. Sorry, got lint all over me. Good Lord. Fabulously unprepared today. So anyways, cupcake. The time has changed, so I may have to put on a light because look, it's super froggy outside. Yeah, right? It's just like all kinds of I mean, I like it. I do. I like it, but it's like super foggy and it's making it dark in here. So, hello, see my face? All right, just so I can read. All right, Cupcake. Remember Cupcake? Because Cupcake is so cute. She's adorable. I love her. And Blossom. Maybe we'll do Blossom tomorrow, right? The start of a fantastic new journey. So they're not oracles, but they're going to be life cards. So tomorrow we'll do that. I can't see who's on, but good morning or good afternoon, wherever you're at. Yes, Merry Monday. Merry Monday, Muddy. All right, so the clearly I can't talk. So this is the sweet cherry. The sweet cherry tree. The cherry tree boasts one of the most beautiful blossom displays in the world. The short lifespan of these blooms teaches us to live in the moment and make the most of the here and now. In the metaphysical realm, the cherry fruit is thought of as sweet, innocent, and kind. Sweet cherries have anti-inflammatory properties and help to heal heart disease on both a physical and emotional level. Cherry bark, blossom, and fruit are used in magical work for spells associated with beauty and longevity. So you're going to get a little bit of the metaphysical because these are oracle cards. But I really wanted to do this because I think, good morning, Allie. Or I'm sorry, good afternoon, Allie. But I really do think that body positivity is something that we all really need to think about and practice and all that stuff. So that's why we're doing this card today, but you're getting a little bit of an oracle with it, so you're fine. The cupcake unicorn, because she's so cute, appears when your body's size and weight has been playing on your mind. Self-acceptance is the key. This card asks you to lift yourself up from your negative judgments that have been created around the size and weight of the physical body. This is the body positive card. Let go of saying, I have to fit into this and I should weigh less. Let go of feelings of shame because of your size. If you are kind and thoughtful and healthy, if you make the most of your appearance and keep yourself clean and comfortable, there is no point in worrying about your weight. You do not judge others on their physical size, so why do you judge yourself? If you are kind to others, why not be kind to yourself as well? There is no such thing as taking up too much space. You are perfect just the way you are. Just as there is a certain height and eye color the body is born with, there is also a certain weight your body likes to be. End the struggle and give your body the credit it deserves for keeping you healthy and alive. Make peace with this amazing body temple you were given to enjoy your journey here on earth. So, the reason I wanted to talk about the cupcake card and the body positivity card is because, oh gosh, especially now, right? We're heading into the holidays. In America, we have Thanksgiving rolling up in a couple of weeks. Well, about a month actually. And then, there's Christmas. And then, for those that celebrate, overseas, there's Boxing Day and there's New Year's, and there's just, with all of that comes, like, right, with December, all the parties. And then you're sitting there going, well, it's Christmas, so I'm just going to indulge. When you say that, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're saying, well, I'm going to be good and treat myself, but I've learned the hard way. Okay, I'm going to share personal stuff here, which is not totally abnormal, but I have been thick, obviously, and I have been thin, and I mean skinny thin, like you can see my bones kind of thin. And I was like that until I started emotional eating. So, and then of course I started dieting. And actually, no, the dieting came before the emotional eating. I remember in school, I was about, I'd grown, which isn't that tall, but when you're 5'4" and have a body built for someone 5'8", and yes, my doctor actually said that. She's like, your body is built for someone who's 5'8", because I was supposed to be about 5'8". But my spine curved just enough scoliosis to not cause any damage, but to keep me short. So that being said, I was always really kind of on the skinny side. And then in, I think, the summer between junior and senior year, we were at a family gathering, and one of the aunties comes up and just puts her hand around my wrist and said, oh, it's so good to see you putting some meat on your bones. She's like, you're so skinny. And all of a sudden, I didn't hear that, right? Because I had trauma brain back then. Remember, I didn't start healing until about 3 decades later. So, or 2.5 decades later. So, that being said, the first thing I thought of was, oh my God, I'm fat. I was 120 pounds. Like literally where I was supposed to be. But the first thing I thought is, oh my God, I'm fat. Because we go by society's rules of what it says. If your rib cage isn't sticking out, you're fat, right? But that's not true. And, there's a lot of people out there who, and high profile people sometimes too, who will make comments about people with weight on them. Don't listen to them. Okay, that could be their own insecurities. That could be their own thing. That's just them. The only paper you have to focus on is your own. The only one. What do we notice about the cupcake card? She's a bit rotund, right? But she's eating that cupcake and she is happy about it. She is happy about it. And to me, because she's happy about it, I don't see her as being an emotional eater. I see her as being like, hey, you know what? I'm happy with my size. I'm not going to concern myself with what other people think because, again, what's the famous quote? Who I have no idea who to attribute it to. What other people think of you is none of your business. And it absolutely is none of your business because that's their insecurity. That's their, narcissism or whatever you want to call it. That's their problem. If you're happy with being you and you're happy with who you are, don't worry about what other people think. I mean, honestly, don't worry about what other people think. I struggled with that. When I went into therapy in 2017, the one where I told you I did the hardcore 6 months intensive therapy. And I don't think it was intended to be intensive therapy. It just was, okay? Because I was outpatient, to the medical plan I belonged to. So I knew that I only had a certain amount of time that they would pay for. And, pay the majority for it. So I knew I had to really kind of not just hem and haw every session. I had to dig in. I had to sit there and go, okay. But I was ready. And one of the things that my therapist told me was she absolutely forbid me from dieting anymore. Now, that may not be for everybody, but she did that to me because of my trauma. She's all, you're not dieting to get healthy. You're dieting to fit society's expectations. And she's all, you need to stop, because all you're going to do is you're just going to cycle through. You're going to lose the weight, gain it back, plus some. And that had already happened. I had lost weight and 3 years earlier. And then over the course of 10 years, I gained it all back. Well, actually the course of 9 years, I gained it all back plus extra. And not just extra, I doubled it. So what I had lost, I gained back, and then gained back that same amount, even more. To where I told you guys, I got up to like 287, and I was just like, what the hell? How did I get here? And I'm still struggling with losing weight, but I'm not dieting. And I'm not shaming myself when I want something. Yes, it takes a little effort. Yes, I have to exercise. Yes, I have to do all these things. And it might take a little longer, but I'm keeping it off now. And that's what's important. If you want to lose weight, but do it the right way. Do it the healthy way. Don't do it because somebody said, oh, well, or maybe you overheard someone go, she's fat. You may not be fat at all. They may just think that because they're insecure. What kind of person will literally sit there and say that to your face? But it's usually someone who is insecure. Now, in my case, some people have said it to me because they're concerned because of my heart. Now, my heart is working fine, as I've mentioned a million times before. She's ticking away like she's supposed to. But they are worried for the long term, right? And that's really why I thought, you know what, I really got to take this seriously. I've really got to start taking this weight thing seriously. And my doctor did put me on some medication, not Ozempic, okay? Because no, I've heard too many bad things about that. But also my insurance wouldn't pay for it. But I was glad because she just put me on a medicine because I was so heavy, my pancreas wasn't working correctly. And you all know my mom died from pancreatic cancer, so we had to keep that in check as well. So that's been helping. But it's all been up here. That's where the majority of it comes from. Sure, I'm on extra medicine for the time being to help me lose weight. And it actually helps with the sugar cravings, and the cravings period. But it's all been up here. It's all been up here. I stopped worrying about what other people think. I stopped worrying about, if I'm being judged or not. Over the summer, I took a picture and I thought, oh my God, look how much weight I've lost since it was at Comic-Con. And some of you who are friends with me on Facebook and quite possibly Twitter, you may have seen the post where I post from like, oh my God, this, I've lost so much weight. I've lost like 50 pounds already and holy cow and blah, blah, blah. And then I stopped and thought about it later after I made this post like, wow, and I did it before and after. I did one from Comic-Con last year and I did one from this year. And I was like, whoa, this is amazing, blah, blah, blah. That was the same weight I was when I lost all that weight in 2014. That's where I started, was the weight I was at that point in July. And that's the perspective. That's where the perspective really hit me. Because I realized, 10, 11 years ago, it's like, oh my God, I'm fat. Oh my God, I'm this. Oh my God, I'm that. And I was in a different mindset. Plus my mom was dying. She was worried about my heart. So she really kind of pushed me into this program and said, you got to do this because I want you to live a long time and blah, blah, blah. I want you to be healthy. And so I really kind of did it more for her than for me. And I'm being honest about that. But I also did it partly for me because I thought, okay, she's right, but I wasn't ready yet because I'll tell you, in this program I was in, they talk about all these things. They talk about healthy eating. The one thing they don't talk about, except for maybe an hour, one class, in 4 months of classes, And not even the entire class. They talked about it for maybe half the class was emotional eating. But the interesting thing is, everybody around that table that was in this class with me, we were all like, well, yeah, you know, this happened and I started eating. Everybody there, like I would, well, not everybody, but I would say that the majority of the people there and the stories that they shared and the stories that we shared with each other before class started were all the same. They all came from emotional eating. And I think when you go through these programs, they may teach you how to eat, but they got to teach you how to love yourself first. It starts in here. I want to say it starts here, but that never seems to be enough, right? We have to train our brain to be happy at whatever size we're at. If you want to lose weight, but do it the right way. Do it for the right reasons. And most importantly, do it for yourself. Don't do it for other people. You know, about 31 years ago, my father quit smoking. And all this time while I was growing up, he kept trying. He tried this program, he tried that program, he tried this. And it was always, well, I'm doing it for you guys. And then finally, when he decided to go into this program, you know, I mean, I was about 21 at the time. And I said, look, don't do it for us. The only way this is going to work is if you do it for you. And he's all, no. He's all, this time I am going in for me. He's all, this time I'm doing it for myself. He has not smoked in 31 years. And that's his thing. Okay, I'm not saying if you want to smoke, smoke. I don't care. That does not bother me. Smoking does not bother me. I grew up with a smoker. It does not bother me. My last boyfriend was a smoker. Still does not bother me. It doesn't. I get it. There's secondhand smoke. I get it. It's not always healthy. But you know what? We can look at everything around us that's not healthy. And we can sit there and go, well, you need to stop that. And then we're not going to have anything left, right? Sweets aren't healthy, but we eat them anyways. Fried foods aren't healthy, but we love them, right? So when it comes to body positivity, remember what I always try to say. What you say is what you hear. It's what your brain is going to process, and it's going to end up being what you see. So if you look in the mirror and you are constantly saying, I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm this, I'm that, I'm whatever, that is exactly what you are going to keep seeing. You're going to keep seeing all the negative stuff. And like I said, if you want to lose weight, that's understandable, okay? But do it for you. Don't do it for anybody else. Do it for you. When I started doing it for myself, when I really started, applying everything my therapist had told me, it took a while for it to sink in. But when I did the shadow work several years ago, it's actually coming up on, I think, 2 years ago this December. I want to say it was 2 years ago this December. It may have been 3 years ago this December. So, okay, but that's okay, Allie. If smoking brings you joy, then do it. And it doesn't matter if you drink or not. I mean, I drink. I don't drink all the time, but I drink occasionally. I am more of a social drinker just because I have a very addictive personality. So I'm afraid that if I drink alone, it might become a problem. So I only try to drink with people around. And that's usually a social occasion. But, yeah, I don't have a problem with smokers. I mean, like I said, when you're ready to quit, you'll quit, and I get that that we constantly try, and stress can become a factor in that, that was when my dad was in his class. That was a big thing with a lot of them trying to quit. They're all like, yeah, but I just, because it's not just, cutting back on the nicotine, right? It's the habits that come with it. It's feeling like you need to have something in your mouth. It's feeling like you need to hold on to something. And, okay, and Sammy too. She smokes and quit and smokes and quit. I have a friend that refused to quit smoking until she had a colonoscopy and found out that she had some polyps, and she had them removed, and she's okay. But she's like, the doctor's like, yeah, it's your choice, but you might want to consider it. And she had just lost her mother a couple years earlier. So I think that was kind of her catalyst, but I think at that point she was ready. But again, if you have a vice, that's fine. That's fine. And it's your choices. Now, everyone out there be like, I can't believe you're saying it's okay. I didn't say it was okay. But again, society keeps telling us we can't do these things, and I think it makes people want to do more. And like I was saying before, it's not just quitting the nicotine. It's having something in your hand. It's having something in your mouth. I mean, my dad struggled with that, you know. He was chewing bubble gum like crazy, and he had the nicotine patches. But but he realized it wasn't just the it wasn't just the what you call it. Now vaping, I'm anti-vaping just because it's worse than smoking. But I mean, for the person doing it around me, I don't care. It smells really good. But you know what? That's up to you guys. And maybe you know, and they always say, okay, so Allie says, you know, she swapped to vaping sometimes, but just don't have the commitment to actually quit. That's okay. And maybe it's not even a commitment. If that's your only vice, I mean, in the sense that maybe it helps you through your stress, maybe it helps through anxiety or whatever it is you're going through. A lot of times that's what people do. And yeah, that's kind of an addictive behavior, but I'm not an expert on that. And I'm not going to tell you you have to quit any of this stuff because I get it. But yeah, that's with me, what Sammy said. I don't trust the chemicals in it either. But I know people who vape, not just Allie. I have a cousin who vapes all the time because he quit smoking. But in a way, it's just switching one for the other. You know, so it's still the same as smoking. And I get it. It's the commitment. But again, like I said, if that's what you want to do, do it. That's fine. I'm not trying to promote bad behavior, but I can't tell people what to do because I struggle myself. Not with smoking, not with that. I struggle with, you know, sugar and caffeine and all that stuff. I mean, I'm going to have to totally detox from, you know, caffeine again when I go home because I'm living off of Starbucks. And it's not, and usually I get decaf, but the chocolate cream cold brew doesn't come in decaf unless I order it unless I order it that way. And I probably could, but I don't. So, but yeah. That's totally understandable. All right. The reason I brought up my dad was because when he finally decided it was time, he did it. And that was his choice. Okay. He was trying to think. 1994 is when he quit. So he was 49, almost 50. So he would have been 50 that next year. So, but yeah, he had smoked since he was like 17. So he smoked for like 30 something years, 32 years. But yeah, like I said, I only brought that up to explain, how quitting is something that we have to choose. If you're ready, if you're ever ready, then fine. I mean, right? They always say it's going to kill you, but then we hear about these, you know, women or these men who live to be like 105 and their vices every day was a glass of whiskey and a cigar, right? I think that was a French woman, a glass of whiskey and a cigar every day. And it's like, and she lived to be like in her hundreds. And I'm like, okay, see, really? It's about what's in here. I don't care what anybody says. It's about what's in here. When I finally started to understand what body positivity was, believe it or not, that's when I started losing weight. I lost weight on that one program, but that's because I was eating like 500 calories a day. It was shakes and soups and maybe a protein bar, which, you know, they make sure that, you know, you have the nutrients that you're supposed to have, and they give you a program on what you're supposed to eat and what you can't eat and what you can drink. And because we weren't supposed to eat anything. So of course you're going to lose weight, right? But your body's going to plateau. And they don't explain to you how to deal with it when your body plateaus. That's just normal. Your body is going to say, whoa, we just lost like 30 pounds super quick. So we're going to stop here just for a second. But then you panic and you're like, oh my God, I'm not losing weight anymore. And if you're off the program at that point, you may start eating again. You may start emotionally eating. I started emotionally eating before the program was over because my mother was dying. And at that point, I just said, fuck it. What's the point? But there was a point. I just didn't understand it yet, and I didn't know it yet. And I think, you know, a lot of people will sit there and go, I can't believe your therapist forbade you from dieting. And it's like, it's been 8 years since I've seen her. But I still tell people, she told me no. And when she told me no, it's like every reason she told me no for made absolute sense. And that's why I refuse to diet. I will eat healthier. I will eat certain things instead of other things, but I will not diet anymore. And that, of course, makes it a little harder for me to lose weight faster, but I don't care. I have learned to love the body I'm in, because this is the body that gets me here, from here to there. This is the body that sits in a car and drives places. This is the body that, wakes up in the morning, and yeah, maybe I'm a little heavier, so the bed might creak a little more, but that's okay. Because when I get to where I want to be, I'm going to be there. And I'm going to not only be there emotionally fit, but physically. Or I should say, not just physically where I want to be, but emotionally fit. And that's why it all starts in here. It starts right in here in your brain. And again, like I said, I want to say it starts in your heart, but sometimes we don't trust our heart. We don't believe that we deserve love. We don't believe that we deserve to be worthy or to have respect. You can give all yourself all of these things: self-love, self-worth, self-respect. That's the true key, in my opinion, on how to get where you want to be when you're losing weight. Dieting is a fast thing, and for some people, they can do it and they can keep the weight off. But those are the people who are just like, oh no, it's, been the holidays, but oh wait, I have this outfit in, I'm going to a wedding in February and I need to take off 10 pounds. And they're just like, okay, but they might be the people that exercise every day. They may be the people who are very conscious anyways of their health. And that's great, but not all of us are built that way. If you struggled with trauma when you were younger, that might be the cause of it. I always thought my emotional eating was my trauma, but my emotional eating came in my 20s when I went through a very traumatic thing. And I started emotional eating after that. It had nothing to do with what originally happened to me as a child. But then I think as that started, and I started, remembering a lot of things, that built onto it, because all of a sudden it's like, ew, I hate my body. I hate everything about this. I can't believe this body was this, that, and the other. And it's just kind of like, you start just thinking in circles, and then you get on that little circle that you feel like you can't get off, right? And if you jump off, it's going to hurt. So when we're on these vicious cycles, and it is a vicious cycle, we have to remind ourselves, first and foremost, that we are worthy of love. We are worthy, period. And we are worthy of respect. And again, all these things you can give to yourself: self-love, self-worth, self-respect. It has to start with you. It's great if you have a support group. It's wonderful if you have a support group. People that are encouraging you, people that are, not sitting there and going, are you sure you want to eat that? And I've had people say that to me. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. It's like, I'm not going to shame myself for eating anymore. It's like, I want to eat this and I'm here and I'm going to enjoy it. And then they kind of like, oh, because I'm not going to fight my body anymore. I'm not going to fight my brain anymore. I know there are times when I have to make better choices, but when I'm out and about with people, I'm just going to, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. If I'm craving a salad, I don't need someone commenting, oh, good, you're eating a salad. It's like, no, I'm craving a salad tonight. If I crave the fish and chips, it's because I'm craving the fish and chips, which I plan on having tonight at Dad's party. So just be kind to yourself. Like I said, look at Cupcake. Cupcake is so happy. She just look at this cupcake and look at me, and I don't care. When you hear the whispers coming from other people, don't listen to them. That's their insecurity. Body positivity has become such a big thing now. You can find accounts on Instagram. You can see actresses just, living their best life, comfortable in their skin. Some of them may lose weight. And this is where I disagree with some people. When you see someone who struggled with their weight and they lose weight, and all of a sudden the community on the plus size community turns on them going, oh, well, they betrayed us. No, nobody betrayed you. Okay. You don't know what their health issues are. You don't know if they're doing this for their health. You don't know if they're doing this because, maybe they're doing it because society says so, or maybe they're doing it because, they want to get healthier, or maybe they're doing it because, as we get older, it gets a little more uncomfortable sometimes when you're a little on the plus side. And if you don't like people sitting here making fun of your size, don't turn around and do it to somebody else. It's a two-way street. Because there are skinny people who suffer from body dysmorphia. I suffered from body dysmorphia, and I would sit there and I'd tell my cousins I was fat, and they're like, are you crazy? Are you nuts? It's like, and they thought, I think they thought I was trying to get attention, but I wasn't. I really thought that I was much bigger than I thought I was. Siblings thinks that I still struggle with that a little, but, you know, because sometimes I'll ask her and I'll be like, blah, blah, and she's like, she just looks at me like, you know, no. So I think I still do struggle with that just a little bit, but it's getting better. And when I look at myself in the mirror or pass myself in a window, I'll be like, sometimes it bothers me because I think I've come a longer way than I possibly imagine that I have when I see my reflection. But again, I can't trust my brain, because is it body dysmorphia, or am I seeing my actual size? And you can't always trust the scale either, okay? And the reason I say that is because the scale here at my dad's differs greatly from my scale at home. So I'm just kind of like, where am I? And at this point, I'm just kind of like, whatever, you know, wherever I land, okay? I'm just going to take measurements and do whatever. And of course, if you have a dinged up mental health and you struggle with your weight, that can be a little bit of a problem. Emotional eating can be a bit of a problem. But circling back, if you are a person of any size who doesn't care for people making comments about your weight, don't make them about other people, period. Focus on yourself. Keep your eyes on your own paper, right? Cupcake says, keep your eyes on your own paper. Don't worry about what other people are saying. Don't, you know, I'm not the best at this, because when it comes to holidays, I get around my family and I realize that what works for me doesn't necessarily work for everyone else. And so I will sit there and sometimes just go, well, just eat it, okay? You know, it's like, this is Thanksgiving, this is Christmas, whatever, you know, worry about it tomorrow. You know, and they'll be like, oh, well, you know, I'll just do this at the first of the year. And I said, that's not going to work. I said, how many people actually keep their resolutions? But I said, just worry about it tomorrow. Eat something healthier tomorrow if you want. And sometimes it actually hits them. They're like, yeah, you know what? That's true. Because I said, this is one day. It's one day. And you know, and I've told them too that, you know, when I stopped worrying about trying to lose weight, that's when I actually started losing weight. And I think sometimes mentally we can keep it on. And I don't mean like it's some magic thing where we think about it and we just get that way. I think because we're thinking so hard about losing weight that we start denying ourselves things. So even my cardiologist, he told me, he's all, look, you want to go to McDonald's? Get the small size. Get everything small. You'll get a Happy Meal. When I go to McDonald's now, I generally get a Happy Meal if I'm craving it, because it's small. Everything is smaller and it's a smaller portion and it hits the spot like it would if it was a 10-piece with a McNuggets with large fries, right? It still hits the spot. And it's just kind of like, because I've changed that mindset that I don't need more to fulfill me. I just need a bit. And it does take time to get there. Shadow work can help if you're working on shadow work. I think a lot of our vices that we have are just driven by, you know, whatever it is inside of us that, you know, feels like it's a comfort thing, right? I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, okay? I have I have a whoopee. I know, and you're like, what's a whoopee? So a whoopee is basically what I've always called it this. I think people have different names for it, but it's usually if you see a kid walking around with the same thing, either dragging a blanket behind them or a little doll or a sock monkey. That was my nephew, him and his sock monkeys. And you see them just wandering around. It'd be like, oh, how cute. They have a whoopee. I have a whoopee. I'm 52 years old and I've been doing this since I was a kid. It's just a pillowcase. Believe it or not, it's just a pillowcase. But I kind of need something in my hands to just kind of play with the texture. I roll it up and do all these things. Good morning, older sibling. Now, older sibling shows to be on. But I just have to say, I tried calling you 5 or 6 times this morning, and I psycho texted you trying to wake you up. So there you go. But yeah, and she knows. She's seen the whoopee. But the reason I'm admitting that is because that's a vice for me. And it may seem like a harmless one. Sure, it's not smoking. Sure, it's not emotionally eating. But it seems to be a habit I can't seem to break. And when I'm not near this thing, like at night when I'm just watching TV, I kind of just, I have to work my mind around it. So, sorry, I don't know what's happening in my ears. So, I'm admitting to that because that is my vice. And like I said, it may not seem that big of a deal to other people, but believe it or not, like I said, oh, I'm sorry, older sibling, I know. But believe it or not, like I said, it can be, it's a vice. It's a vice. Vices don't always have to be addictive things. They can be little things. So, and I just want everyone to know here as I close this up, I'm not here to judge anyone. I'm not here to judge your vices. I'm not here to judge your, the things that you do to calm your anxiety. I'm just here talking about body positivity because I think it's so important for us to really have that. We don't have to fit society's expectations. Okay? The only expectations we really need to meet are our own. If you want to lose weight, lose weight. If you don't want to lose weight and you're happy with who you are and where you're at, that's fine too. It really is. And we may not think that, and people around us may not think that, but I think the more we try to push people to do something, the less they're going to want to do it. Because they feel all this pressure. And when you have pressure coming from you at all different angles, it can cause anxiety, whether you have anxiety or not. It can just make you feel like you're backed into a corner like a feral animal. So, everybody, older sibling has a bladder infection, which I'm pretty sure she didn't need everyone to know, but it's in the comments. So, if you could all send her some good juju and prayers or, white light her, whatever, that'd be great. Okay? Please, 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 please. So, because those are no joke. I know. I've had one recently, and they are no joke. They hurt, and they suck. So, anyways, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope I got the message across right. I'm not really sure I did. I feel like we bounced all over the place, but I think the point is made. And I've done body positivity cards in the past, or body positivity shows in the past. I think every so often it's good to revisit them, especially around the holidays, because people are going to start shaming themselves. They're going to start second guessing everything they do, everything they choose. They're not going to want to enjoy themselves because, what if I gain a pound? It doesn't matter. You will lose that pound. I promise you, you will lose that pound. I mean, I used to be so magical when I was younger that I would actually lose weight on Thanksgiving, and I would just indulge this is when I was skinny, right? Because my metabolism was kicked in. When we start dieting, we kill our metabolism. It's as simple as that. But they don't want to tell you that because dieting sells. Now, I'm not anti-diet because I do realize that there are certain diets that are healthy for people that a lot of people may need to be on. Certain ways of eating, certain types of eating, especially if, you're diabetic or if you have heart issues or whatever. But when it comes to the holidays, don't shame yourself. If you're worried about overeating, just take a little bit at a time because it's all going to be there. You can always go back, right? Because most parties are buffet style. You can go back. You can go back and pick whatever it is that you want to eat. But just start small if you want, because you never know. That may actually satisfy you. You may actually be in a good place. All right. So, take a little and then move to more if you want. Have seconds. So there's a lot of different things you can do for yourself. But I think first and foremost, as we get into the holiday seasons, be kind to yourself. When you look in the mirror, remind yourself that you are amazing, that you are perfect just as you are. And that there is no other you, and that's okay. That's great. We don't want there to be any other us, right? Even twins are not, well, I wouldn't say not the same, but the majority of twins, live their own lives. Not all of them, but most of them. I know two twins who live very different lives. They're identical and everything. They share that sister bond. They share that twin bond, but they are two very, very different people. So, you know, and one thinks a certain way, one thinks the other way. So the reason I'm saying that is because when you look in the mirror, just remember, you're perfect just as you are. There is no other you, and you are perfectly you. And that's all that matters. And that's what should matter. So to finish this off, remember, what you say is what you hear. It's what your brain is going to process, and it's what you're going to see. And it may show you something completely different than the reality because it's negative. So do your best to think positive about where you're at. All right. And like I said, if you want to lose weight, that's fine. If you need to gain weight, that's fine. But don't let people around you, or don't let society force you into something that you are not comfortable with. All right. So I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Please, 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 please take care of yourselves. I'm not trying to promote unhealthy attitudes. Okay, just so you know. I'm just trying to get people to know that if you want to get fit or you want to lose weight, it has to start in here. 100%. You can work out, you can exercise, you can eat, you know, like a rabbit all day long, but it has to start in here. When you love yourself and when you respect the body that you're in and you show that body respect, it will respond. Okay? So again, have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you back here tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. Facebook Live. All lives are public under Shella Marie Lucas. You can catch me across the social media board. And yeah, that's it. Thank you, Allie, Sammy, and older sibling for popping on. I appreciate you ladies, as always. And to anybody else watching later, thank you, thank you, thank you. And hope you all have... Oh, and my cousin Jeannie. She's not showing up on anything, but I just saw her little thingy there. So have a wonderful day, everybody. And thank you all, 4 of you, for for popping on. And again, have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you.